Welcome to the Command Share, brought to you by Star City Games. I'm your host, Sheldon Menery, founding member of the Commander Rules Committee. Each episode, I'm joined by one of my RC colleagues, and we break the show into two segments. First, in the command block, we talk about the high-level decisions, the thought processes of the RC, maybe just whatever the hell is on our mind. And then in the chair block, we lean back, take a look at the cards, the decks, the tech, the things that the RC likes to bring into the games that we like to play. This episode's co-host is the inestimable Scott Larabee. Scott, before you reclaim your seat in the command chair, make sure that Toby didn't leave a half-eaten bag of chips.
No, I already checked. He left it pretty clean this week.
Okay. All right, let's dive right in. The Commander is the only format with a philosophy document. It contains the guiding principles for both our expectations of what we want from the format and how we're going to manage it, how we're going to get there. In a recent conversation with CAG member Olivia Gobert-Hicks, she brought up the question, which isn't directly answered in the document: who is the document for? So this will be really the first conversation that any of the RC members have had directly on this topic, so I thought it would be enlightening to see what we touch on. And I'll remind everybody that this is just me and Scott chatting for the moment. We're not necessarily setting policy or agreeing to anything. We're just having the conversation. So, Scott, what do you think? Who is the document for?
Well, I tell you, you sent this question to me yesterday, and it's a very good question that Olivia asked. She has very deep insights when it comes to this. I think it's for everybody, but I think its purpose is probably a little different for everybody. I mean, every format has a philosophy of what it's supposed to do, who it's for, that kind of thing. They're not all codified. That's the difference with ours. We've actually taken the time to write it down, and so. But in writing it down, it opens up. Everybody can read it, obviously. So there's,
right.
So who is it for? I think primarily it's for us on the RC. I think it's very easy to make. You don't want to make any snap judgments or snap decisions or do anything. And the philosophy document, I think it can ground us and give us something to look at. For the players, I think it is. Look, I think if players are playing and having a good time, it's great. When it comes to when their individual playgroups begin to degrade and somebody does something that makes it not fun, I think the philosophy doc can be helpful for people to get back on track. And I think there's some third things. I mean, we have, I know when we wrote the philosophy document, we sent it to a few people at Wizards to have them look at it, and they loved it. And I think it can help guide design of future commander sets. I think if anybody is designing a card and they go, maybe this is not something for commander. I think the philosophy document could be helpful along those lines. I'm not saying that WotC is bound to it, but I'm saying that there's a philosophy document I think we can look at that. I think when they design cards for standard, and they design cards for modern, design cards for pioneer, and any other format, they have a philosophy in mind. So I think that having one codified, especially when this format is stewarded by people that are not wholly at Wizards, is a good idea.
Yeah, I think we bring this around. First point is that it was very interesting to me back when we had the old forums, and we posted the new philosophy document. This version of the philosophy document, and you could see the hit count of each forum, and of course we posted it at the same time that we did an update to the ban list.
Right. And
I noticed that 4 times as many people read the banned list post as read the philosophy document.
Yes.
So does that tell you that they don't care about the philosophy document, or that they already had some kind of grounding in the document?
Probably. Well, here's something I noticed. So as part of preparing for today, I knew we were going to talk about this. I went and reread the philosophy document. Right. And one of the things I noticed, one of the things that struck me is how 1/3 of the philosophy document deals with gameplay, and 2/3 of it deals with bannings. And I think that's probably indicative of the fact that we don't. I think our highest interaction we have with people who play the game and conversations we have are over card bannings.
Sure.
Why did you? Whenever we do a panel and whenever we're taking questions, people always like, "Why did you ban this card?" And or why don't you ban this card? Or please don't ban this card, or please don't unban this card. And those are that is by far the majority of the things we deal with. And I get it. Like, people don't want to have their favorite card banned, or they don't want their unfavored card unbanned. So I get it. It affects people's lives. It can affect their wallets. I mean, this is a thing. But so I think that because people are, I think the bannings are more they're more real to people. It's something they can. I mean, it's something they can feel, right? When their
they're abstract.
Card
they're
they
not
play
abstract.
gets banned, it has a direct effect on them. Where the philosophy the philosophy section can be a little ephemeral. A little, yeah. I agree with all that stuff there.
My follow up was going to be: is this just an artifact of the way that people already interact with other formats? Right. They don't see the Studio X philosophy or the Wizards of the Coast philosophy behind a format. They just see the hard edges of it. They see this card is banned or unbanned. They don't know if, you and I having been inside a little bit, know that, for different formats, there's an idea of how they want the format to look. We want Standard to have this many turns, or, we want to make sure that Modern has at least that many turns or whatever. But those aren't articulated in place. So and they may change with each Standard rotation or Modern rotation or whatever. So we've articulated them, which is very different because they can actually hard look at them. But I agree with the idea with your thought that the bannings are science, and the rest of the philosophy document is religion, right? It's something that you have to get your mind around.
Right.
But
it's art, it's religion, it's more ephemeral, and you have to you have to get your mind around the whole thing in order to encompass it. In reading through it, I think we've made it easy for people that don't want to read that kind of stuff and want more chunky stuff, in that we've bolded the things that are the most important, which I think is great.
Yeah, I think was that Gavin's idea?
I think it was.
It was when we were writing it. It was like, let's bold-face these things that people can pick out. Well, especially because we know that they're getting the input from an ostensibly visual medium.
Right.
It's not a book that they're, or a pamphlet that they're carrying around. It's a screen, and those things are, the words resonant experience are going to jump out at you.
Right, and I think if you're just giving it a cursory glance, it's hard to ignore the bold. So I'm very glad we did that.
So does this question need to be specifically answered in the document?
I don't think so. It is for everybody. It's for us to, like I said, keep us grounded. It's for the CAG to challenge, in case we need to update it. For players, as I said before, I think if everybody in a play group is getting along and having a good time, the format at the most is about fun. I think it'll help if things begin to go off the rails. That's certainly something I point people to when they say, but in my group, this happens, and I'm like, well, then you guys are doing something wrong. Philosophy document. And and then, like I said, for Wizards, I think it can help with card design. And so I don't think it needs to list all these things. I think if we didn't think the document was for everybody, I don't think we would have posted it. So
sure.
I don't think you need to say who it's for or what sections are for who. It is a general guiding document for anybody that's interested in Commander on any number of axes.
Yeah, I think the four of us would not say something like, "This isn't for you."
Right.
The follow up to that, though, is: are we setting ourselves up for failure by publicizing the document?
We certainly set ourselves up for criticism, but that's fine because I think while the philosophy document is not unchangeable, it is. I think it's mutable, and I think it can. I think it can change over time. I think that are we setting ourselves up for? No, I don't think we're setting ourselves up for that. I think it's part of the reason we got the CAG, right, was to to bring us stuff and challenge us on things. So, and we have been challenged by them, and I'm sure that as we go along, we are going to find areas. CAG members, I guarantee, are going to start bringing up things in this philosophy document about, I just don't think this is right. Maybe we should be doing it this way. And I think that is great. And that's what we should be talking about. Because if there's a lot of tenets in there that I think are very top line. And if we're doing something that is violating those, or if we're not doing something that is violating one of those, I think that we need to take a good hard look at it.
Well, the document itself is an articulation of the principles of the guiding philosophies. So the underlying principles might change, but our facility at spelling them out, our facility at saying them and making them grokkable is something that the philosophy document can change.
Right.
We're not going to change philosophically the underpinnings of Commander. The fact that the format is about this resonant shared experience. That's not going away. However we say those particular words, the idea is still solid and eternal.
But the rules could change in order to more correctly express those things.
Right.
Yes.
So
which we're not planning on doing.
Right. It's really weird. I think we're in this sort of weird situation that many of the people that this document might be for don't actually need it.
Don't need it, you said?
Need it, yeah. Kitchen table players probably don't need it at all.
Probably.
Because they're doing what we're suggesting in the document in the first place.
Yeah, again, I think that's true. I think a lot of kitchen table players don't even know that it exists, and that's great.
Right.
And if they're going on and they're having fun, and you know what, if somebody plays a card that the other people don't like, and that guy says, "Oh, sorry, I'll take it out and I'll play something else," well, then it's working, right?
Right.
Everything's working. They're having fun. There's a good example of a social contract. They're having a great resident experience. I think when things degrade, that's the problem. So I think when people tend to move out of local play groups and move into groups where you don't know people, that's when it's more important.
Yeah, that's the point I wanted to come around to here, is that it really is about, the philosophy document is about a bigger group. It's about it's about when you have, Gavin 15 years ago called these untrusted groups, like people that you meet for the first time at the game shop, or people that you meet at a GP or a Command Fest or something. This is sort of bounding your mutual experience there so that everybody has a general idea of where we're headed. So that's a building point. It's not us leaning into Rule Zero. A lot of people, I keep hearing occasionally this criticism that the RC leans into Rule Zero too hard. The truth is we don't, actually. No. We don't make rules and then go, oh, don't worry about it. Rule Zero will take care of everything. Rule Zero is not the engine. The philosophy document is the engine. Rule Zero is the ejector seat.
Right.
Rule Zero is for when things go wrong, not for the things that are already right.
Already correct, yes.
Yeah.
Completely.
And I think that an LGS or an extended group, maybe you have 12 or 16 people that you play with or something, can use the philosophy document to help build their extended environment, to help, to say, well, here's something that we can all kind of agree on and point to, even if we might be at different ends of the spectrum when it comes to, high-powered play or whatever.
Right. I mean, I notice a constant use of Rule Zero. A lot of people think Rule Zero is just do whatever you want. That's not what it is. Rule Zero is have a discussion. Rule Zero is make sure that everybody that you're playing with is somewhat in agreement about what kind of game you all expect to have, and then adjust accordingly. It isn't, I can do whatever I want because of Rule Zero.
Right.
And when you take it to maybe to a store level, if stores are customizing Commander to their own local groups, that's great, assuming they're doing it with the input of their players. If a store is just like, I don't like this card, therefore I'm banning it, and everybody there likes to play with it, that doesn't make any sense, right? It's having a conversation with the people you're playing with to make sure that you all understand what kind of game you have. And when you play with your local group, when you play with your very tight group of people, you know what people are going to... You already know, so you don't have to worry about it. It's when you go outside that you need to be more concerned.
And, I think that the meta point here to this part of the discussion is the fact that this is, again, the philosophy is about communication. It's about a broad set of expectations for folks to work within. It's definitely not about bludgeoning people with because it says we can do exactly what we want. It's not saying that. If you want to play canonical Commander, here are a hard and fast set of rules. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to play canonical Commander and you're having a good time, fine with us.
Right.
That's that's the real message of Rule Zero.
Right, completely true. And we've had a few streams where Gavin has wanted to play his Silver Border Commander, and we've all been completely fine with that. Am I fine with that every time I sit down to play a game? Absolutely not.
Right.
But occasionally I am fine with it. And I trust Gavin to not build some stupid deck out of it, so that it's going to make me not have a good time.
There's only so much Grand Calcutron a person can take.
Correct.
But again, that goes back to the trust element, right? You don't need the philosophy document to trust Gavin. You need a relationship with Gavin to trust him.
Right. And that's ultimately what Rule Zero is about. Whether it's a long time relationship like the four of us have had, or the beginnings of a relationship of a group of four people you don't know, just by sitting down and going, all right, what kind of game are we going to have here? Right? Are we going to have a, whoever wins by comboing out on turn 5? If so, I'll go find a different game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to... We've said this before. You have a limited amount of leisure time in your life. Mm-hmm. There's no sense in spending it in an activity that makes you miserable.
Miserable, correct.
And if the way somebody else plays is fun to them, good for them. I don't want them to make themselves miserable either.
Right.
But don't. I think the individual doesn't need to force themselves into playing something that they a style they don't like, just to go along to get along. Correct. And find and the comeback will frequently be, well, there are only so many people around me that play. Then you just need to have a harder conversation. You need to
you either have to have a harder conversation, or you need to make some new people to play with.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, we live in the webcam world, and there are plenty of other people to play with. Speaking of which, on the Commander RC Discord channel, we just added an LFG on the Discord server. Sorry, we just added an LFG channel. Okay. So if you are looking for a game on whatever platform you want, it doesn't matter if it's Spell Table or streaming or whatever. I think it links to Logan set it up, and I think it links to some sort of scheduler. Oh, okay. So that you can actually. I mean, you can just post in the channel, hey, I'm looking for a game right now, anybody interested? But there's also this sort of, I think it's an RPG scheduling routine, where you can say, I'm running a game at X hour, and have people showing up to play with you. Yeah. So that's a new and fun added feature.
I hadn't thought about RPG tools being very, very useful for Commander.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me either. And then, well,
Since
you
you
know,
need groups of 4 or 5,
that
amazing.
that Logan, there's a reason he's tech support to the
that
stars,
Logan,
right? So, what do you see as the future of the philosophy document? Do you know what are we just shining up the tires here for the next couple of years, or are we putting a new set of hubcaps on it? Or are we going to change the whole carriage at some point?
I mean, like I said before, I don't know that we would change the philosophy document itself. I think things that may change because things change because are the underlining rules. The rules of Commander have always changed. You know, when you were up there playing in Alaska, it was a very different set of rules than it is now. I think the guts of the format are there, but the rules have changed in order to make it better. And I think that we can only continue to refine those rules. I mean, as Wizards produces more cards, not just for Commander, but just more cards, play patterns change and things become different. And so I think it is possible. We are not talking about it right now,
Right.
everybody. But I think it's possible that the rules could change because rules change.
Yeah, sometimes they do. You know, that you adapt to meet a developing world, and the needs of the player base or the desires of the player base may become very different than they are. But yeah, please don't take this again. This is just me and Scott talking. This isn't something is on the horizon. One final point. One final point I want to hit on this topic is about banning criteria, and there's a reason that hard banning criteria is not listed in the philosophy document.
Correct.
Because it's nothing but trouble.
Right. I think people want hard banning criteria, and guess what, folks? You're not going to get it because if we ban cards as examples or as paragons of things that we think are, the more egregious examples of bad play. For instance, Time Walk, for instance. Time Walk is banned for a lot of reasons, but you know what? A 2-cost thing that lets you take another turn is, something that could recur and you could do it a lot, and it's there. We don't ban all our Time Walks bad. Our cards that let you take extra turns bad? No, of course not. Is creating an engine to do it infinitely bad? Yes.
Probably, yeah. Which is why Panoptic Mirror may be on the ban list.
Correct.
Right. So yeah, the problem is that if you write hard and fast criteria, there's always going to be an argument against them. That I believe that is setting yourself up for failure, especially when the edges of your format are fuzzier,
right,
than ours. Again, this isn't professional golf where we need 1,000 rules for everything.
Right.
We really want to be able to capture. I've said, and we've all repeated numerous times, managing the format of Commander is way more art than it is science. And giving ourselves principles to go by, and then sort of instantiating those principles is what the philosophy document helps us do. But saying if a card costs more than $17, it gets banned is a path to madness.
That is a path to madness. Also, I've had people tell me, well, you should just ban 1/2 of every 2-card infinite combo. And I'm like, well, no. Well, why not? I said, because both halves of those have legitimate uses.
Right.
And they're not. And you know what? When one half doesn't have a legitimate use, we ban it. There's a list. You can go look at it.
Yeah.
But those. I mean, I think that any given card can. Not any given card, but I think we know the examples of those cards can become a problem. And if their majority use is for something that does not follow the philosophy document in some way, that is probably the criteria at which we get it banned.
Yeah, I think that people again probably based more on their experiences with other formats. Don't like the idea of cards banned as exemplars.
Right.
Like if a card is bad, you just ban all of them.
Right.
So you don't just ban Time Walk, you ban
all the
Time Warp
walks.
and
Right.
every Time Walk. And things are different. And one part of the philosophy is that we want to keep the ban list as trim as possible.
Right.
So a 200 card ban list or a 100 card ban list or a 95 card ban list, those again are paths to trouble. And I think that we have long learned the lesson of the old 250 card format, 5-color,
Sure.
whose ban list was bigger than the deck size.
Right.
And that's a lot to keep track of, and we want things to be a little easier for Commander players.
Sure. I mean, as far as bannings go, I think we've said this before, and I think you'll agree that when it comes to the four of us, I am the person who's more in favor of more cards being banned.
Yes.
I think that there's more exemplars that we could put out there, and get a
that's the thing. We could
get a little better
we
thing,
could
get a little better
we
thing
could-
going on there. But I am not saying that I want to ban 500 cards. I'm talking like 5 to 10 maybe.
And we could ban 5 to 10 or more cards and still remain philosophically consistent.
Absolutely.
I think that's the thing here. The ban list might be able to be 5 cards shorter or 5 cards longer, and we'd still be in a relatively decent zone.
Absolutely.
All right, it feels like this issue is going to warrant some more discussion for the future, but it's time for you and I to stretch our legs a little bit. Folks that come on this show have been playing the format for a long time. We run cards that newer players might never have come across. We discuss some of those cards each week in our recurring segment, Hidden Gems. I kind of scooped you last week when Toby was on, and I had Doubt the Embrace, a black enchantment, as one of mine. So, what do you have for us?
Stealing black enchantments from me, that's tough. That's
what friends do.
That's my thing.
That's what friends do.
Yes. Well, I'm going to turn it on you because I'm going to choose a green card that's a fog because that's all you. The thing I'm choosing this week, I'm choosing Tangle from Invasion. I had this in one deck. It was actually a deck you and I built together when I was down visiting with you. It was the Angus Mackenzie Pillow Fort Commander deck, which I do not play anymore. It's ridiculous. But we put Tangle in there. Tangle says, for 1 and a G, instant, prevent all combat damage we dealt this turn. Attacking creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. Combining a fog and a lockdown for a turn, I thought was it's pretty cool fog. And I'm stunned, mind you, that it is only in 540 decks in EDH Rec out of the 10,000 plus.
That's insane to me.
I can't believe nobody's playing this card. It's so good.
I'm a big believer in having your fogs. I think they're getting a little more sophisticated now. Again, this is from Invasion, so it's a really old card.
Right.
But for 2 mana, a 2 mana fog is great in the first place, and then locking down those attackers is just even better because it's a fog and a half.
Well, it's more than that because everybody gets to take a whack at them, not just just you.
And there's nothing that prevents you from playing this on an opponent's turn. And there's nothing to prevent you from playing this at the end of combat.
Right.
After damage has been dealt.
Right.
Because there's the end of combat step, those creatures are still attacking and blocking until the phase is over. I mean, so you get to, like with the Ether Eyes, you can let the combat damage happen, and then let's just keep you on the sidelines momentarily.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love this choice. This is an outstanding hidden gem, and I'm with you. Only 540 decks, man.
So I noticed that your hidden gem is from the same expansion.
It That was certainly without prior coordination.
It was not, yeah.
I'm going with Sabo's Web. It's a 2-mana artifact, like Scott said, from Invasion. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So 2 mana to draw a card is already good, right? You don't even need to do anything else, and you're fine. The thing here is the ability is lands with an activated ability that doesn't produce mana don't untap on their controller's untap step. So the cards that this shuts down include Maze of Ith, Volrash Stronghold, Academy of Ruins, Alchemist's Refuge, and Gavany Township. This is not non-basic land hate. This is, to me, reasonable protection. And I saw that you pulled up the stats for this. Only 596 decks are running Sabo's Web.
Yep.
This is the essence of a hidden gem. Really, nobody's playing this.
I've been on the receiving end of this card from Sheldon himself, and I can only have one thing to say: Sabo is a jerk.
Well, you love your mazes of Ith, so
That's what I'm saying. And my Volrath Strongholds, by the way.
right. All right, well, we've dipped into the mines and dug up a few hidden gems. Here's hoping that we've inspired you to do a little spelunking on your own. Slipping right into the chair block. Now, as Scott and I record this episode, we're winding down week 1 of what's become known as the EDH Boxing League, which I covered in my setup for my article the week before last, and we're going to offer updates on StarCityGames.com in the coming week. In short, we've gathered a lucky 13 Commander Notables for effectively what's a giant sealed deck league. The seed of the idea came from a chat that Brian David Marshall and I had barely a month ago, and we just developed it. So you open a box of any core set or expansion product and build a normal Commander deck out of it. We play games as any 4 of us can get together, and then each week, here's the cool part, you can add 6 booster packs of any single set to add to your pool. The restriction being, you can't open anything that you've opened before. Now, you chose Dominaria for your box.
I did.
Walk us through the process of playing on easy mode.
So easy mode as you call it. I chose Dominaria for 2 reasons. One, I think everybody knows by now that I am Black-White Mage. I like to play Black-White, so if I can have a chance to play Black-White in a sealed format, I'm going to play it. I know that Dominaria has 2 commanders in Black-White that were possible, one at uncommon, one at rare. If I get them both, even better. Also has a lot of legends, and so I wanted to go wide,
Sure.
but I was looking for a specific legend. Hoping I would get it. I also have, in my experience, the worst box opening skills ever, and I did not want to take a chance with a set that, say, only had 5 legends in it, hoping to get one, because I will be the guy that opens a box and doesn't get one. So I wanted to go a little wider than that.
43 or 44 legends in
Right.
Dominaria.
Something like that.
Many very good ones at uncommon.
At uncommon, yeah. So
like
I wanted to go wide.
Katyova.
I was also I'm also intrigued by the historic themes in there of sagas and legendaries and artifacts, and there's a lot of historic matters which I also wanted to play around with, which either of the Black-White commanders would let me do that. So I wanted to. That's why I went.
So you basically knew what you wanted to build and then found the box that would do it.
Sure did.
So how did you find your pool?
Well, I think
you obviously got one of the ones that you wanted.
I did. I think the pool was pretty insane, actually. We'll go over some of the cards that are in the deck a little bit later. So I did. I got to build the Ariel deck, which is the one I wanted to build, the Black-White Knights deck. But what's interesting, the pool is so good. I literally designed 3 other decks out of the same pool, 2 of which I think were just a notch below the Ariel deck.
Really?
I built a Slimefoot deck that I played around with quite a bit, and it was playing very well, and I built a Joda deck, and just to see if I could play five color legendaries and historics and stuff, just to see kind of what it looked like. Those two decks were pretty good. And then I built a Rona deck in blue black commander. I've always been intrigued by that commander and wanted to see if I could, in a seal deck format, maybe make something out of it. I've tried to build something out of it in Constructed, and it's one of those legends that I've always wanted to build thing around. I've just never been able to make it come together. It did okay. It didn't do as good. So I had a lot of different ways I could go. And that's only, 4 of the legends. I didn't even look at the other. I don't even remember how many I got. I got 11 or 12 legends out of the deck that were possibles.
Ariel seems like a great commander for a sealed league because it does multiple things.
Yes.
It both helps build your army. What's it cost to make a knight?
It costs a white and 2 and a tap to make a 2/2 Vigilant Knight. And
then it provides creature removal, which is a huge thing because that there aren't going to be too many board sweepers in this environment.
Correct. And then for a black and a tap, and tapping any number of other knights, you can destroy target creature whose power is equal to or less than the number of knights you tapped. And by the way, Ariel has Vigilance, which means you can attack with her and then do the tricks at the end of somebody's turn.
Right. Yeah. So you said that you were hoping for Ariel or another one. Which was the other one that you were hoping for?
The other one that I was hoping for was Arvad the Cursed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
5 cost, Death Touch, Lifelink, other legendary creatures you control get +2/+2. Hoping I got both. I did. So the two of them together are already a pretty good combo.
So you knew you wanted to play Ariel. Were you at all concerned then that you weren't going to get enough support in the Knights, or was there enough there? Even before you opened the box, was there enough there for you to be relatively comfortable that you were going to get what you needed?
I mean, I was pretty sure I was going to get an Ariel. I knew I would get a whole bunch of Knights because there's a ton of Knights in that set. But I think I did a little better than average. I wasn't expecting it to be this good. Once I saw how many Knights I got, I was like, all right, this is definitely what I'm playing. I don't even have to look at a different deck. This is what I know I want to do. And then when I saw the support that I had in the Historic Matters, and I think one thing that's really important in these box leagues is how many useful artifacts you get, because they can help fill in a lot of holes that you don't get in your colors. And I got an insane number of really good artifacts to go with all
plus
this.
the fact that again, artifact and enchantment removal, control elements are going to be really precious.
They are going to be precious, right? So
you're gonna see, well, as we saw in the game that we played on Thursday. I got my commander out with hexproof, and I got Iluna is my commander, and Crystalline Giant gives it more abilities, so it got hexproof, and I think the operatives there were hexproof, lifelink, first strike, and death touch.
Right.
And once that happens, it just ran the table because nobody could really do anything about it.
No, there was nothing we could do.
There was no, somebody would have needed a sacrifice element or a board sweeper, and I don't think anybody is playing anything from a set that has mass creature destruction.
Right.
So let's talk about some of the superstars in yours.
I mean, just to say, there's a whiteboard sweeper in Dominaria, but I didn't get it.
Right.
So, things that I think are superstars in this deck. Well, I think one of the things about this format is that there are a few things that are really necessary. Card draw is really, really good because there's not a ton of... I mean, you can't just go out and get your usual suspects when it comes to card draw. So things that allow you to draw cards are really good. Things that let you ramp mana. This is particularly for my deck because I'm playing black-white, which don't have a lot of ramping to begin with. Had to come up with some stuff there. And the other thing that's really good in this format is just flat out flying. I mean, flying is always good. But because there's no mass removal, there's only targeted removal, I think the more flyers you have, the more likely it is you're going to win the game.
That fact led me after the first game we played on Tuesday to put the plummet that was in my pool into the main deck.
Yes.
I'm like, why? Yeah, I have to play this now.
Right. So, things that I got along all these lines. I got an Urza's Tome, which is really good for card drawing and lets me fill up my graveyard with some stuff, which I have some graveyard recursion stuff, so it helps there. I got a Demonic Vigor. It's this little one-cost black enchantment that I can put on my commander, and if my commander gets killed, my commander goes back to my hand, not to the graveyard.
It goes to the graveyard. And then
comes to my hand, correct.
Right.
Which is important.
The operative there being that you don't have to spend the commander tax to recast it.
Correct. I got a Skittering Surveyor, which lets me go, when it comes into play, lets me search for any basic land, put it into my hand. Has the secondary ability of being historic, because it's an artifact.
Nice.
So I got some ramping. I got a Power Stone Shard and a Gilded Lotus.
And again, you can be relatively confident that people are probably going to spend their artifact removal on stuff that's actually killing them,
right?
As opposed to your
Gilded
mana
Lotus,
acceleration.
Yes. I got a Baird, which helps. It's this little guy with a little mini propaganda built into him. People have to spend one for each creature they attack with.
Or block with, right?
Or I'm sorry?
Isn't Baird both sides?
I don't think so, Mr. Menery.
Let's look. Let's go to the tape.
Just attacking.
Okay.
Just attacking, and he's a 2/4 as well, so he can block, which is nice. Then on the flying end, I got a Sarah Angel. I got the Weatherlight
on Tuesday night, right?
Yeah, I got the Weatherlight. I got a Pegasus Cursor, which not only flies, but makes one of your other creatures able to fly when they attack.
Yeah.
I got an Aven Sentry. I got Windgrace Acolyte. I got Urgoros. I got an On Sarah's Wings legendary enchantment. And I got a Rite of Belzenlock, which lets me create a 6/6 flying demon. And another flyer I got is Teshar. The more I think about it, the more that Teshar might be the actual MVP of this deck. It flies. It has a Historic Matters trigger that will let you take a 3 or less cost creature and put it back onto the battlefield. And you know what a night deck is full of? Lots of knights that cost less than 3 or less.
It's sort of Sundering Titan for creatures.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. Actually haven't gotten it out in play in a live game yet. So can't wait to actually get that going. Then I've got a little bit of recursion. I've got a Soul Salvage, which is a house in this format, by the way. A 3 cost, get 2 creatures back in your hand. I got a Whisper, which I can use for all the extra night tokens I make in order to recur stuff. And I got a Yawgmoth's Vile Offering. I also got some really good equipment. I got a Black Blade Reforged, a Jousting Lance, a Forebear's Blade, and I got a giant skewer in my 6 I'm going to add. We'll go into that in a minute. And then
didn't you also get Blood for Bones, or was that BDM?
That was BDM.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I got all this great Historic Matters stuff. I got a Cobble Paladin, who is, by the way, a knight. And whenever you cast a historic thing, it does 2 damage to each opponent. Got the Teshar, got a Board the Weatherlight, got a Devenant Trapper, which lets you tap a creature every time you cast a historic. Daring Archaeologist. I got the Mishra's Self-Replicator. And in the deck, I've got 27 things that trigger on Historic Matters. So
whoa. So yeah,
I think it just did really well there.
You're basically casting one every turn.
Every turn, yeah. In the gold fishing I've done, I've been able to do literally 1 or 2 every turn, depending on how the engine gets going with being able to draw a card and do stuff. Yeah.
So you got off to a pretty good start.
I think so.
We're still gonna play a couple more games with this deck before you update it, since we have the RC stream tomorrow as we're recording this. Where you've already decided where you're gonna go for your 6 booster packs in the first set.
I'm going to planeswalk to Eldraine and attempt to pick up many more knights. There are many black-white knights in Eldraine.
Okay.
And I've already opened my packs, and I've already made the deck. Won't be actually using that version of the deck until we're done on Sunday. But the adds I've already gotten to this deck are, I got a Castle Lochthwain.
Sweet.
Which is going to help with the card draw immensely. I got 3 knights that have adventures. I got the Foulmire Knight, which lets me draw a card and then creates a knight with Death Touch. I got Smitten Swordsmith, which lets me does damage to each opponent depending on how many knights I have in play, and then creates a knight with lifelink. And then I got the Arvindale Tactician, which lets me tap two creatures and then it creates a flying knight.
Wow.
In a format where you need flying. How good is this?
Right. That's sweet. Yeah.
Additional knights I got were a Lost Legion, so it's the one that lets you scry 2 when it comes into play. I got the Ardendale Paladin, that is a 3/6 if I cast it with the Adamant ability. And I got the Resolute Rider, which is a 4/2 but has activations to give it lifelink or indestructible till end of turn.
Yeah, I gotta imagine indestructible creatures are going to be really house.
They are. Then in addition to all that, I got a Golden Egg, which is good for some card draw and some life.
Nice.
I got a Baked in a Pie, which is good for the removals.
Right.
And then the really big one I got the Clackbridge Troll. Which
that's
I
huge.
can't believe I've never considered this guy for a deck before. I got it, I looked at it, and I went, how am I not playing this card? This guy is so good. He's a 5-cost 8/8 with trample and haste. You have to give an opponent 3 goats when you play him, but at the beginning of combat on your turn, before you attack, and any opponent can sacrifice a creature. If they do, you tap it. But if they tap it, I gain 3 life and draw a card. So this is he's going in.
That's a pretty insane card, and for an environment like this, it's going to come in, and what do you care if you don't necessarily get to attack with it?
Right.
The life gain and the card draw is going to get you to a bunch of the other things that you have that are going to put pressure enough on people.
Correct. I want him on turn 5 every game.
Yeah. Now, you also played yesterday afternoon, right?
I did. I played yesterday afternoon with Olivia and Anthony Alonji and Gavin Duggan.
And how did do you see any play patterns emerging from your deck so far? I mean, you played it 3 times already this week.
Yeah.
Anything that you've seen that's becoming habitual already?
Yes, if my commander is allowed to remain on the board,
yes,
it can be a problem for people.
Yes.
I can just slowly, as long as nobody gets a big flyer out early, and I don't have the removal to take care of it, I can just spend my turns doing almost nothing and just creating night tokens, and then start picking things off until I draw a big flyer or a way to make my guy fly and do something with it. That's what I've noticed so far. So for everybody who's going to be playing against me in the league, get rid of my commander early and often. Not to say that the game. It's not to say the deck only works if I have the commander. It definitely has these great fly. I mean, if he's got a flying army out, I don't think it'll be a big problem. So that's the patterns I have noticed in my deck. The patterns I've noticed in the games so far, I think I've already talked about, which are creature removal, card draw, flying, ramp. Those things are really important here. And then hexproof. I mean, if you've got a big guy with hexproof and nobody can do anything about it.
Yeah, the play line with Crystalline Giant and Illuna was very, very simple.
Yeah.
Give Crystalline Giant hexproof, mutate Illuna onto it next turn, and it natively has flying and trample,
Right.
then at that point nobody has big enough flyers, and
Right.
at the point that they do have flyers, you've already given it first strike and death touch, so that you need 7 creatures to block it.
Right. It just every time you added a new ability to that guy, it was one. It just took away outs from everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, how are we going to get out of this? Well, he gave it first strike now. Well, no, okay, that's out now. No, oh, he gave it death touch. Yeah, well, that out's now.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Well,
cool.
unfortunately for me, I think my deck is a bit of a one-trick pony.
Yes.
At this point, it's you sort of run a Luna out there and see if I can kill people.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the rest of the cards aren't quite so saucy.
Right.
I do have plenty of card draw because I've got 13 cycling cards.
Yeah.
In addition to other things. So I'm not sure where I'm going next quite yet. I think I'm going to let Sunday's games give me some insight.
Mm-hmm.
I have a box of War of the Spark and a box of Eldraine sitting here. But I don't know. I think Eldraine is probably the one I'd pick first because it's going to give me some of the monocolor things I need.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's an argument for Fate Reforged or Khans of Tarkir because Teamer is there and both Gruul and Simic are there. So, we'll see. The cool thing is, however, we're playing with cards that we wouldn't otherwise play with.
Yes, we are.
which makes it fun. The play patterns aren't so repeatable, and you're like, there's a lot of what's that do again?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fun commander game.
Yeah, so far I've got. I mean, I say this to a lot of people when I tell you what's different about Commander. I'm like, you don't play instants. That's what's different. And for the most part, it's true. Like, there's a lot of instants you could run, but like instants are these little tricks. You get to do them once and it's done, and they're not usually as wide as a sorcery where you get to do those stuff. So in this format, you got to play some instants, or you're not going to be able to play a deck. And it's like Seal Deck in that way. It plays a little bit more like a draft or a sealed deck, and you're playing these cards. You kind of have to make them work, and you also not only that, but you just kind of have to play the game differently. Like Olivia got a card in her pool. She did M20. It's a black instant. And it says target creature gains death touch. Draw a card. I can't remember the name of it, but like that card's insane. Like, it's so good because you can use it in a combat you're not even involved in.
Right.
Right. Some guy's attacking somebody else with their big guy. This person chump blocks, and suddenly you've removed the threat from the table. I mean, it's things like that. I was for a while there the other night against you. I had a Vicious Offering in my deck, in my hand. So it's this black instant that says target creature gets -2/-2, but if you kick it by sacrificing a creature, it's -5/-5. And there was a point during that whole thing that I had a chance to use it. I just never quite had the thing, and then once you got the hexproof on, I'm like, well, it's a dead card. So it just kind of sat in my hand as I waited to try and draw one of my 2 outs.
Yeah, combat tricks are generally not a major part of Commander.
Right.
There are some fogs and there's occasionally stuff, but they're certainly not part of the format like they are in a sealed deck or in a draft where they're huge. And I think we're going to find out here that combat tricks have a lot of staying power. They're going to be a thing that you have to, that you really have to consider. Whereas, in a regular Commander game, you're like, well, there are 3 or 4 things that they might do here, but the possibilities are pretty limited. In the sealed deck, who knows what the hell is going to happen?
Right.
I'm not intimately familiar with all the commons of every set that people are playing with. So that Toby, who is an inveterate drafter, probably has a categoric knowledge of every decent common in every set.
In every set ever. Yeah.
I was going to say in the last 15 years, but pretty much ever. Whereas, some of us who don't draft that often or don't play limited that often, Vicious Offering. If you said, I'll give you $100 if you can tell me what Vicious Offering does, I'd be going hungry.
Right, right.
So this league
something
is
else I
shaping up to
noticed.
be something interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And something else I noticed in the game yesterday. Sorry, with Olivia. Olivia got two different Chandras in her pool, and ran them both. And something I noticed that hadn't really come up in a game before is it's come up a little bit. I mean, people definitely have played some Planeswalkers, but Planeswalkers are a house in this format if you can get them out, because people can't always just get rid of them like they can in the game. So
you don't have the same. Again, you don't have the same super aggressive combats that you might, until turn 12 or 13 or whatever.
Right.
But you don't have early super aggressive combats. So a Planeswalker early might be a really big thing, and I suspect that folks are gonna maybe get to those Planeswalker ultimates more than they might in a normal Commander game because of that. Which makes me think maybe War of the Spark is I gotta see everybody going to War of the Spark at some point. I think that the people in the league who opened Ikoria, I think there were 3 of them. You among them, I think. Me, Anthony, and Hobbs.
Yeah, I think so. No, Hobbs opened M20. It's you, Anthony, and Brian. I really think you guys are probably looking to go to the cons block in some way.
I know. Brian opened M20 here. I think I actually have the sheet handy. Let's find out.
Well, Hobbs opened Dominaria, I think.
Ikoria. Oh, Toby.
Toby opened.
Toby was the third person in Ikoria.
But yeah, I think the Ikoria player is going. I'm kicking myself. We didn't think of doing this league, back when Cons Block came along. Cons Block is rich.
Yes.
With stuff. And Gavin Duggan, by the way, is the only one who he chose. He chose a box to open that nobody else did.
Right.
And he went with Fate Reforged.
Yeah.
And his deck is good. He won the game yesterday. Actually, he may be showing us the way.
So the description, in our little league notes, it said that you drowned in card advantage. What does that mean?
I had everything going for me in this game. It was like I was drawing everything I needed except the thing I needed to actually win. And Gavin pulled a board sweeper and was able to recover faster.
Oh, what does he have?
So I don't remember the name of it. I think it has the name Apex in it.
Okay.
Black card from Fate Reforged.
Wow. Okay. Now I'm gonna have to go look at what.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
What cards are
pull
in
it up
his?
real quick. No, maybe not Apex. I can't recall the name of it. It was it was a conditional board sweeper. It worked for him. It was the one that says it's something like choose a creature type and all creatures that are not that type.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or not dragons or something.
Yeah.
Probably dragons.
Yeah, it's not Crux of Fate.
No.
Oh, yeah, Crux of Fate.
Yeah, Crux of Fate. That's it. Yeah.
Crux of Fate. Destroy all dragons or all non-dragons.
Right. That's the one.
That's a wrecking ball.
And he's playing Tassiger, so he doesn't really care if he gets stuff in his graveyard. So. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Well, it's good. It's good to know that he has that now.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Unfortunately, we've been sitting in the chair long enough, and it's time to wrap the episode. Please, folks, if you're watching on balls, if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to like, follow, subscribe, and ring those bells. We know you have a choice when it comes to consuming Commander content, and we'd hate for you to miss one of our episodes. Before you go, Scott, please tell these good folks where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter at Scott Larabee. My name. I'm also on the RC, the Rules Commander Rules Committee Twitch stream every Thursday and Sunday, and occasionally you can find me on Olivia's stream when she allows me to come hang out in her clubhouse.
Olivia's clubhouse, yeah. I'm on Twitter and Facebook at my name, Sheldon Menery. You can also find me regularly in the channels of the RC's Discord server. Please check out the Commander website for an invitation link to the free Discord. Please tune into my other show, Commander Community, with co-host and league participant Anthony Alongi every Monday here on StarCityGames.com and YouTube. And on Thursdays, like Scott said, 8 p.m. Eastern in the U.S., you can catch me and him, along with the other members of the RC, on the RC Twitch channel, also now 2 p.m. Eastern in the U.S. on Sunday afternoons. You never know who's going to show up for Game 2. That's twitch.tv/CommanderRC. Finally, on Sundays, you can find me right here on StarCityGames.com, writing about the best format in Magic history. We'll see you next time on the Command Chair, and as always, I'm Sheldon Menery.